I guess not.
Good morning. So, go ahead. Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Now, have you ever heard of the song Jacob's Ladder? We're going to sing a song called Sarah's Circle. We are weaving Sarah's Circle, the same tune as Jacob's Ladder. So here's the Church in Ocean Park Choir, and we welcome you. So happy to be here and see you. Let's sing. Okay. We are 1, 2, 3, go. We are weaving Sarah's circle. We are weaving Sarah's circle. Harmonies. We are weaving Sarah's circle. Sisters, brothers, all. Please join us if you can. Now, every round a generation, every round a generation, every round a generation, sisters, brothers, all. Here we seek and find our history. Here we seek and find our history. Here we seek and find our history. Sisters, brothers, all. On and on and on. The circles moving on and on and on. The circles moving on and on. The circles moving. Sisters, brothers, all. We are open and shining. We are open. We are shining. We are open. We are shining. We are open. We are shining. Sisters, brothers, all. Sisters, brothers, all. One more time, sisters, brothers, all. Welcome, everybody. Okay.
Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to Church in Ocean Park. Please, would you give a little love to the Church in Ocean Park Choir? Thank you so much. Led by the wonderful Louise Dobbs. And welcome. Welcome to everyone that is on Zoom. Welcome to everyone who is here. And welcome to people that wanted to get here and are still trying to work that out. Welcome to Church in Ocean Park. And Ramadan Kareem for all who are celebrating Ramadan. Now, you may wonder if you are welcome here. Yes? Mm-hmm. Well, you are welcome if you are Christian of all different kinds of stripes. You are welcome if you are Jewish from various branches of Judaism. You are welcome if you are Muslim and you're into the second full day of fasting from sun up to sundown. I know it can be a little rough at the beginning, but glad you are here. You're welcome if you are single, separated, married, engaged, all that stuff. You're welcome. You are welcome if you are transgender, you're especially welcome. You're welcome, no matter what your immigrant status. And I saw a sign on the door that said, "You're welcome here." I was glad to see that. You're welcome. If you are lesbian, bisexual, gay, intersexual, you are welcome. Everyone is welcome here at the church in Ocean Park. We are so glad that you are here with us this morning. We are an interfaith community, but you're still welcome if you are atheist and that's not, or agnostic. You're still welcome. Everybody's welcome. Thank you for being here for the beginning of Women's History Month. So yes. So we're going to have our pastors welcome. Part of that welcome is going to be in person, and part of it's also going to be on Zoom. Get ready, Pastor Janet. But we're going to start off with Reverend Joseph. Come on.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to this first Sunday of, we're already in March. First Sunday of March. Yes, we welcome you today, especially this congregation explores a broad range of spiritual teachings. In fact, right here today, we have a Catholic scholar guiding us and leading us. We have a Jewish organist or pianist. We have many different expressions of the truth. We celebrate diversity, treating ourselves and others with respect. And so our gathering support, educate, and challenge us in different situations. So you are indeed very welcome. In fact, I was looking at a poem by Robert Frost the other day, my favorite poet, Robert Frost, and he said he took the road less traveled. Well, we are a church that took the road less traveled. Less traveled for sure. So that makes, according to Robert Frost, that makes all the difference. And it has made a lot of difference in our worship, in our reaching out into the community and society. This week I rushed from work to look at the movie Sugar Cane. Right here. And Linda was there, and Hurley Jim, and a couple others were there. Bonnie was there. And where else can you see that but at the church in Ocean Park? So welcome. We welcome you heartily. And maybe we can take a few minutes, a little time to invite our pastor, Reverend Janet McKeithen. She's on Zoom today, but I believe she may be able to still say a hello. Reverend Janet, can you say a hello at this time?
Yes, I'm so sorry I can't be there this morning. I am at the tail end of being treated for pneumonia. I mean, I don't know that I have that, but that's what I'm being treated for. And so rather than cough all over everybody, then I thought this is probably better. At any rate, I welcome you also to the church in Ocean Park and the road less traveled. I think we are going on many roads less traveled this year. And we need to make many more pathways and to the unknown together. And we've done that before. And so we need to just continue to do that. I also want to let you know that if this is your first time at the church in Ocean Park, you have just as much voice as anyone who's been there for a very long time. So when it comes to community sharing or any other time, just know that your voice is just as important. And if you hear something that you disagree with, also know that whatever you believe is just as important as those who just spoke. So I also welcome you to the church in Ocean Park. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we have our land acknowledgement. We, the people of the church in Ocean Park, recognize that our building here in Santa Monica, California, sits on stolen land. We, the settlers of this land, honor the Quiche, the Tongva, and Chumash peoples. We acknowledge the harms of genocide, enslavement, forced assimilation, and gender violence, the burial of historic truths, and indigenous suffering at the hands of settler colonialism. We also acknowledge that our communities and country were built on the backs of people stolen from Africa, placed into bondage, and forced into labor. We acknowledge that we benefit from that labor that has never been repaid. In acknowledgement, let us commit ourselves to healing by helping to create a more just and equitable world through the struggle of changing how we do things that we now see as normal and that support the systems that oppress us. We acknowledge and we apologize for the harm by pledging ourselves to be part of the culture of repair. Now we take a deep breath as we prepare to carry on. We're going to have the Thich Nhat Hanh. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now, 3 times. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the
Well, this morning, I'm looking forward to a conversation that Darya Jones and I are going to have about Black liberation theology and womanist theology. But just to set the stage a little bit for it, we have a short video. Nate, this is your cue. About womanist theology, where it came from, and Black liberation theology.
1960s and the 1970s saw a radical shift in Black political thought, represented in the Black Power movement, the Black Panther Party, and the Black Arts movement. In the wake of Dr. King's death, the quest for civil rights became radicalized, and the Black church was no exception.
James Cone was a leading theologian of the Black Power movement era who revolutionized the study of theology by arguing that Black liberation was at the center of what we should understand to be the preaching of the gospel.
The Reverend Dr. James Cone, a distinguished professor at Union Theological Seminary in New York, spoke out unflinchingly about race and racism, especially economic justice and the abuses of the prison system. The late 1960s marked a turning point in Cone's career when he turned to theology to amplify the voices of the Black freedom struggle and center Blackness within Christianity itself.
James Cone is arguing God is Black. He means that God is so intimately connected to the welfare of Black people that God is indistinguishable from them. This began the formation of an alternate theology for Black churches that requires a different way of thinking about power.
But for some of his Black female counterparts, they found themselves frustrated that he didn't adequately account for the ways in which Black women in the church were directly impacted by gender, by patriarchy, by sexism.
I think one of the most interesting and important aspects of African American churches is that the majority of people who are in the pews are women. The success of those institutions has rested on the labors of Black women.
They saw themselves as departing from Black liberation theology in order to take seriously the experiences of Black women.
These women are using womanist theology as a way to raise up these concerns about the lack of recognition of the power and importance of Black women in those institutions.
Jacqueline Grant, who was one of the students of James Cone, became one of the founders of womanist theology. She established the women's study of religion at Harvard University and worked in the field of Christology with a very specific focus on the experiences of Black women and set the foundation for the field.
These righteous women of God were in pursuit of an interpretation of the Bible that reflected the realities of their existence, indeed the full range of their humanity. Interweaving a feminist worldview with Black power and the Word of God to form a womanist theology, these Black women shaped a Christianity they could truly call their own.
Yes, I do have a song for us, and Dr. Kim brought this song to me. She suggested it 2 days ago, so I got to cheat with my lyrics a little bit. And it's written by a lady named Amy Carol Webb, and it's called I Come From Women. And it has a pretty nice singable chorus too, but we're gonna the chorus goes like this. Women of wisdom, women of tears, women who stood and embraced their fears, women of struggle, women not free, women who pass the torch to me. So sing that with me when it comes around. I come from women who gave up their power. I come from women who gave up their name. I come from women who know nothing ever stays the same. And I come from women tender as roses. I come from women strong as stone. I come of the earth. Shout your name, reclaim your worth. I come from women, tender as roses. I come from women, strong as stone. I come from women who taught me no one ever fights alone. Now joining hands, we will be free. I come from women. I come from women.
Thank you, Louise. I come from women. So we're celebrating Women's History Month, starting off here. So I think, Darya, while you come on up here, I think I want to call some of our women ancestors and some who aren't even ancestors quite yet, women that are still with us. Let's call them into the space. So I'm going to come around, and if you've got a woman's name you want to call out, okay? So I'm coming around. You got a woman's name you want to call out? Somebody that inspired you, Reverend Joseph?
So many of them from the Caribbean. Let me see, a name. Rosa Parks.
All right. But how about a woman from the Caribbean? Was she from Caribbean? You got a Caribbean woman that inspired you?
Can't think of the names right now. Oh yeah, my mother is a good one. Okay, Canisa Hepburn.
All right. I'm coming here. You got a woman who inspires you.
My mom, Marjorie Dobbins, and I thought of Dorothea Height.
Okay, thank you very much. And it's one of my LMU students here. Hello. Thank you for coming. Who inspired you?
This is my mom, so I'll say my mom here. Yeah. So, you need the Muhammad.
All right. Yes, indeed, and welcome. Hi. Thanks for coming today.
Aziza Muhammad, that's my mother, who's a recent ancestor. And Shirley Chisholm is another one who inspires me.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. All right, and...
I'll say Ella Baker. Ella Baker.
Absolutely, Ella Baker. Oh, I'm coming around. My knee's better now, so I can run around the congregation. All right, here we go.
Okay, this is an ambush. I have bread sign up open for March 16th. So see me if you want to sign up.
Oh, so people are going to sign up for bread. Give me the name of a woman that inspires you.
I guess my mother, but she was a teacher, so I became a teacher.
What's her name?
Yes, my mother.
What's her name?
Oh, her name was Bernice Bacon. Initials BB, just like me, Beth Bacon, BB.
All right, so Bernice Bacon. All righty. All right, I'm coming around the other side. Oh, you got a woman that inspires you? Give me a name.
I would say the poet Emily Dickinson, who I first read in high school, and her imagery was very stirring.
All right. I'm coming over here. Now, y'all got to be ready with some names here. Really? Okay, so.
My grandmother, Kathleen Chester, who taught me how to make bread.
All right. All right. So you're going to bring some of your bread that you made.
Here, I would if I could.
Oh, okay. Well, next time you come, we'll look forward to it. Yes.
My mother, Millie, who was a school teacher. And just something I was thinking about, I'm an architect, and there's a woman, Norma Sklaric, was the first African-American woman to be licensed as an architect in California, which is, that's like they're very few in my profession even today.
Wow. Thank you. What year? What year? Oh, he's going to look it up.
Yeah, I want to lift up my Lila Armstrong, the woman who took care of my family after my mom died. I feel like she saved my sanity.
All right. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And you got somebody you want to lift up this morning?
I got to stop it too.
Yeah.
I will start with my mother, Mildred Pitts, who married Earl Walter, so she became Mildred Pitts Walter. And she's reminding me now in her elder years of Harriet Tubman. But then there's Sojourner Truth, who I drove great inspiration from.
I'm going to sing about her later.
There's also Angela Davis, who, I take a great sense of joy. And then there are women, Elaine Brown and Erica Huggins, who sacrificed so much in the way of struggle. And then there's Mamie Till Mobley, who lost her son. I mean, I could go on.
Yes, you could, but you're not going to. Come on. Yes, he could. Yeah, Craig could go on. Yes.
All right, well, you have to do your mom. My mom, Mark Chandler, a philosophy professor, earliest feminist that I know. And because she's a philosophy professor, the other woman that I will mention is Simone de Beauvoir, the existentialist philosopher who did everything that Jean Paul Sartre did backwards and in heels.
There you go. There you go.
Of course, my mom, her given name was Anna Estella Bacciotti. She's 99 and been working since she's 15. And then my Caribbean family, I have very strong people on that side, which is, I want to shout out to Mata, as I know her, the great-grandma, and then the grandma, Gladys Genus. But as a celebrity, it's Nina Simone.
All right.
My grandmother, Vera Lorena Winston, Creole from New Orleans, a psychic. She was even in the book, The Miracle Workers. And my mother, Patricia Ann Luer, then went by Patty Winston, then went by Danielle at the end of her life, who was a rebel from Montana, a wonderful singer.
Thank you. All right, now people on Zoom, we are going to give you a chance in a half second here. So you have a woman that you want to call into this space.
I sure do, yeah. I would say definitely my wife, Levy Bar-Levy. She's a musician. And I would also call on the Caribbean organizer, Claudia Jones.
All right, thank you. Yes, coming back here.
Yeah, my mom, Ruthie, and in America, Aretha Franklin and Ella Fitzgerald. And in the Caribbean, I can name a whole bunch, but I'll start with Queen Ifrica and Judy Mowatt.
Right. Thank you. Oh, I got it. Okay. All right. Yeah, got three here. Okay. Yes.
Well, too many names to name and to remember. The women who worked for the right for women to vote. There were hundreds of them. Sacrificed their lives, sacrificed comfort, convenience, got a lot of pushback, to put it mildly. They're my heroes. And then I had a cousin, my late cousin, Olive Lee Hart. Still miss her. She and her husband were very active in liberal progressive politics in a very redneck area back east, and advocated for the rights of folks with AIDS against a lot of pushback, but they kept at it, even into their 80s and early 90s.
All right. I know, we still need to remember those women, because we have to push back against some stuff right now. Oh, yeah. Just saying. Okay, here we go.
Well, I grew up at a time when it was not big for women to be in science, at least at UCLA. So Jane Goodall was my hero. And when I went to UCLA the first year, I got to hear her speak. So I was like so thrilled. Then there was Nerdy, who was the only woman scientist in the lab that I worked in. And she was my model for the fact that women can be scientists.
Right. Yes, indeed. Women in STEM. Mm-hmm. They didn't even call it STEM back then.
My mother, Ada Dobbs, and you, Dr. Kim Harris, inspire me all the time.
Thank you. You're very kind. And speaking of mothers, Mom iJoy. There you are. Hi. 93, still going strong. You're on mute, Mom. You're on mute. Unmute yourself. You're still on mute. Lord have mercy. On mute. So wave at us, Mom. Wave. Go ahead. Okay. We got any names on Zoom that they want to say?
I unmuted myself.
Woo!
I want to say Annabelle Jackson and Soprano.
Okay. That's my grandmother and my great-grandmother.
Great-grandmother.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Mom. Okay. Jerry.
Yes.
You got a name, a woman that you want to call into
I would like to acknowledge my late wife, Marissa.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like to acknowledge my girlfriend, Marilyn. I would like to also acknowledge our wonderful minister, Janet, very inspiring, and our former mayor, Judy Abdo. And then lastly, but not leastly, I'd like to acknowledge Mother Nature.
All right, thank you. So, Reverend Janet.
To acknowledge Virginia Gallery, and then my grandma, Barbara Butler. And then Abby has her hand up.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Reverend Janet. Anybody else on Zoom? I think that I see Abby's waving her hand. Go ahead, Abby. You can speak now.
Oh, my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Duncombe.
Thank you. So anybody else on Zoom? Do I see another hand up there on Zoom? Or? Yes, Judy, go. Yeah. You have to unmute, Judy. You're still muted.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't hear what was said in the presentation, but I do want to say that I taught for 13 years, kindergarten through third, and last year, some of my kids who were in one of my classes so long ago created a Zoom and we talked to each other, and it was absolutely fabulous.
So they were acknowledging you. Fantastic. Thank you. Well, thank you. We have called, I hope we didn't miss anybody, Audrey or Edward or Barbara. So, just calling women into the circle. And part of why we want to do that is thinking about the way that womanist theology even got started. Thinking about why Black women in particular, who really loved and appreciated Dr. James Cone, and some of who were his students, and they talked about how, he says in some other video, says, they pulled on my coattails and told me I had missed something. And what had they missed? Black women's experience. So, womanist theology. And Darya, who also is one of my students at LMU, yes. Now, we studied womanist theology together. Do you remember how it even got the name womanist theology?
Yeah, it was Alice Walker, who is the author of The Color Purple, and that's why I got a purple jacket. I wanted to honor her. And she basically wanted to include all aspects of Black women's experiences, so she created the term, and then it was used by womanist theologians.
Absolutely. So Alice Walker, when she was talking about womanist, she was remembering that sometimes our mothers said, when we were getting a little fast, said, yeah, said, you're acting womanish. Mm-hmm. Anybody ever say that? I see some people here nodding their head. You're acting womanish. You're moving along a little fast, right? Mm-hmm. So thinking about this theology. Now, what else? Oh, every theology needs a good foundational story, right? And so a foundational story, Hagar. Have y'all heard of Hagar? Mm-hmm. Hagar? Okay. Hagar from the Bible. Hagar, who actually is really important in the Quran. Mm-hmm. Abraham's, well, what should we say? Ishmael's mother, enslaved by Abraham and Sarah. And when they couldn't have a baby, because Abraham and Sarah were seasoned, way up there. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The way it's translated in the Bible, in Hebrew scriptures, and also in the way Christian scriptures, they say, Abraham went into Hagar. Now y'all can just take that how you want to. Mm-hmm. And she had a baby that was going to carry on, was going to inherit from Abraham. Mm-hmm. Ishmael. However, sometimes they say, well, after Hagar had that baby, she started looking sort of side-eye at Sarah. You know what I mean by side-eye? Looking at somebody, looking out the corner of her eye, sort of like, well, I did what you couldn't do because you couldn't have a baby. And Sarah got mad and said to Abraham, well, look what you have done. Look at all this. And so Abraham wound up, this is the very short version of the story, putting Hagar out. He ran away. Mm-hmm. She ran away. And in the story, God says to her, you better go back. Now, some people get mad at that. Why would you say go back into slavery? But, you run away in the desert and, you're going to die. She went back. But before she went back, she became the only person in Scripture, Hebrew Scripture or Christian Scripture, who gave God a name. Because she called God El Roy, the God who sustains her and helped her to find some water that she needed. So it's very interesting. This woman, this Hagar. And so Black women said, this is the story we're going to take for our theology. Now, why did they say that? Because under enslavement here in the United States, there were Black women who were raped, whose children then were looked upon as, who were enslaved. And so they said that experience that Hagar had with Abraham and Ishmael is also an experience that we understand. So that became a foundational story. Now, what did you get out of womanist theology, Darya?
Well, what immediately comes to mind are two things. Number one, the importance placed on intersectionality, and that womanist theology as a response to both Black liberation theology and feminist theology is basically saying two things. Number one, when we don't acknowledge and recognize and fully see the very different experiences of human beings, not within just one single narrative of being, say, just black, but black female. And what does that mean? That's critiquing the power structure and saying there's more than one way to see this. And the other thing that struck me was this idea of womanist theology is a theology of thriving based on resistance and survival techniques that Dr. Dolores Williams, author of Sisters in the Wilderness, student at James Cone, writes about in her book. And I think when the theology is focused on the intersectionality and thriving, it becomes a theology of collective liberation. Because I think with feminist theology, we see this idea, at least in the Western understanding for most like Anglo-Christian women, is this individualized liberation, and womanist theology is saying, no, 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 we need to think about this collectively as a community.
I know. So, there we were in our class together, studying liberating theologies. Why would it be that a woman of multiple heritages, but a white woman, why would you want to study womanist theology?
Well, being a white woman who is Christian, I realize my positionality is that of privilege, that of having the option, not that I'd ever take it, but having the option of not being aware of other experiences. And I think womanist theology rightly, intentionally demands that we see that other experience and really fully understand it. Because if we're going to call ourselves Christian, if we're going to call ourselves American, we need to start thinking about how do we widen the circle, just, as our Methodist brothers and sisters like to say. How do we expand and continually expand our definitions if we're even going to talk about liberation? Because liberation cannot exist in a vacuum of isolation. We can't say there's only one or two forms of liberation, otherwise why is it liberation? So it is a challenge and an invitation, rather. I see it really as an invitation to continuously expand my thinking, continuously listen to the voices that our dominant culture says maybe aren't as important, but are as equally important.
Thank you very much. So thinking about a theology, experiences that are different from our own. Now, one of the wonderful things about that course, this was a graduate course, and in that class, there were only 5 of us in that class. We had, I know, I loved it. We had a Korean-American woman. We had a young man whose heritage was from El Salvador. We had two white women. We also had a Catholic priest who was Nigerian. And we were studying liberating theologies all together. And so we studied Latin American liberation theology, we studied Black liberation theology, womanist theology. But for the papers, for their final papers, what they had to do was to think about, was there a theology that they wanted to see come forward? I'll have you do this too.
Get ready.
Was there a theology that they thought needed to come from maybe an experience that they hadn't heard expressed in a liberating theology? And what did you write for your, what did you write about, Darya?
In the class, I wrote about how Father Greg Boyle's Homeboy Industries could be seen as a liberating theology. And sure, and what that meant for me in reflection of everything we learned in the class was, Father Boyle, and interestingly, as I was reading about womanist theology, Father Boyle really focuses on what it means to fully support the thriving of those we deem as the oppressed of the oppressed. And that's a quote from William's book. Because if we think about those who have been in gangs, those who have been imprisoned, they are the oppressed of the oppressed often. And what I mean by that is it's not necessarily a majority of white people in prison. We know this. We know it's mostly black and brown folks in prison. They are already oppressed, and by being in prison, by being a gang member who is deemed by society as other, they are oppressed of oppressed of oppressed. So Father Greg Boyle responds to that and says, wait, these are human beings who are worthy of dignity simply because they are human. And we must, in thinking about being Christian and thinking about, for him it's Catholicism, it's Catholic social teaching, it's a whole lot of other things. He's thinking about this as, well, if the message of Christianity is one of liberation, what are we doing not liberating people by not fully celebrating the thriving of their life? And that's the parallel with womanist theology, is there's this message of despite suffering, despite having to survive and resist, there is thriving. And, if I could go back and rewrite the paper, I probably would. Because, given what I now know, I could draw so many more parallels, but I just think it's wonderful that Father Boyle is really giving us a thriving liberation theology.
Mm-hmm. Amazing, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So now, we could do this all day, but we're not going to, we promise, okay? So just to sort of end up this part, we already had so many names, and thank you all for sharing names, historical names, names from your family, and Craig, you gave us Sojourner Truth. And I had already thought that we would end this part by singing about Sojourner Truth. So I need you all, sit in your singing positions, please. Sit up in your good singing position. And I just want you to repeat after me. Ain't I a woman? Ain't I a woman? Sing again now. Ain't I a woman? One more time, go. Ain't I a woman? Well, that man over there says that women need to be helped into carriages, lifting over ditches, and given best place everywhere. Well, nobody ever helps me into carriages, lift me over ditches, or gives me any best place. And ain't I a woman? Come on. Ain't I a woman? Mm-hmm. Look at me, look at my arms. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could head me. And ain't I a woman? Come on now. Ain't I a woman? Now I have borne 5 children and seen most all of them sold off into slavery. And when I cried out with a mother's voice, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? Ain't I a woman? Well, that man over there says that women can't have the same rights as a man, 'cause Christ wasn't a woman. He says Christ wasn't a woman. Well, where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Say that. From God and a woman. And man didn't have nothing to do with it. Sojourner Truth. Well, so now we get to have some extra good fun. So Darya and I are going to stay up here. But first, could you give Darya a hand? Thank you so much. I know. So one of the joys of teaching is to have great students. Okay. So we're talking about now community sharing. So if you have something you want to either ask Darya or myself, or, so we'll come on around. Oh, Craig. And then get ready, Zoom people, because we are going to come to you too. Yes, what are you thinking about this?
I'm really, pushing this around in my head, looking at how revered Jesus is. And you just said, essentially, through Sojourner Truth, how much attention, because of Jesus is as pure and as godly as he is. Well, what does that say about Mary? And there are various cultures, I would think, within our Latino sisters who refuse to believe that a man who is so pure comes from a woman who also has to be as pure. And I'm wondering just what kind of discussion is that to put that kind of reference on Mary?
That's a great question, because there are people who really revere Mary. As a matter of fact, in the Quran, doesn't Mary have a whole chapter? A whole chapter.
But we can't go there, right?
A surah. Yes, we can. Yeah, So yeah, and we got to go there. So thank you. So just thinking about women. All right, I'm coming in back. Thanks, Craig. What's your first name? Enyash?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Hi, I'm Enyash, I guess. So I want to comment on one thing that you said, but I was part of the Ethiopian Coptic Church and back in the Bronx, and Mary did as much miracles as Jesus in the early church. So Mary was much more revered in the earlier church than she was as time went by. So I have an issue. This discussion is bringing up old wounds for me, and if it's okay if I share. Okay. So this is the old wounds. No. The wounds are of breaking things into races and deciding that white people have this experience and black people have this experience. Because I was kidnapped and I was raped by people of color. And I was abandoned with children in the jungle by a man of color. And so I don't like when things are put like, as a white person, I've had a certain experience. And as a black person, you have this certain suffering, because I have had suffering as a white person, and as a white person, I don't have the community to go to discuss things with. I don't have people say, yeah, we've suffered and everything like this. So I had to do a lot of suffering as a young girl by myself, because white people couldn't even listen to what I had to say, because they were like, oh, I can't talk about that. Please don't tell me that. And that's what I had to do with. So. And I also worked my ass off I carried my children myself, nursed my children, cut down coconut trees, cracked those coconuts, made my coconut milk, lived on a fire. I did all that myself as a white woman, wanting to live off the land in Caribbean. And my black man ran off and to find other women while I did that. So I think the racial divide is another illusionary thing that we need to deal with on a more real level, because white people don't have this experience and black people have this experience. There's a mixture of experiences, and I have to say that, yeah.
So, well, thank you. Well, I hope that here at Church in Ocean Park, you find a group of people you can talk to. What do you think, y'all?
Yeah, definitely.
Because we do have mixes of experience. So how do we deal with that? And one of my questions would be, what kind of liberating theology, what kind of God talk comes out of your kind of experience?
Oh, compassion.
You have
to have great compassion. To be honest, if I didn't have great compassion, I wouldn't have survived my experience. Because if I had been angry or given at any anger, my throat would have been slit. And it was only compassion and praying the Our Father during the hell that allowed my people, and then finding a joint in my bag, and they got high, thank God, because then they went from wanting to murder me to giving me a car that was stolen to drive home. I couldn't drive, so I had to ask them to drive me back home.
So compassion, thinking about compassion. Mm-hmm. So a liberating theology of compassion and acceptance.
Oh, you deserve this, but God gives out what God gives out, and you deal with what God gives you, and you work from there, and no bitterness is allowed if you're going to survive.
So thinking about, and what I appreciated is, Darya, was there something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was listening to you, and I was thinking about, in light of what it means to have your body violated. If we think about the Hagar story, we think about other feminist and womanist theologies, we're seeing a recurring pattern of women whose bodies are violated. And maybe, to answer Dr. Kim's question, and thinking about it, that kind of God talk would be one of, like, out of a traumatic experience, how do we think about our theologies? I mean, I realize that's the role of certain feminist theologians and obviously womanist theologians, but trauma study, it's just something to think about.
Mm-hmm. So theology of trauma. So we're going to keep going around, but, did you have something you wanted to say? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So, okay, coming over here.
Well, whenever we talk about, tell me the phrase again that you were using for theologies. Liberating. Okay, sorry. Liberating. Then you have to have people that have compassion for each other, like Anraj was saying. And I heard something on the radio this morning. This sounds like it's not the same, but it's so incredible I have to talk about it. There was a study that found that mice tried to save unconscious members in their cage. And they were 2 and 3 months old, which were just emerging adult mice. They did not have time to get taught by adult mice. The scientists knocked out some of the mice with medication. They were going to wake up later. And while they were unconscious, the other mice tried to encourage them to wake up. So that's an innate behavior. And it gives me hope that if mice that are 2 months old will try to help an unfortunate member of their community, that is hidden in people that I'm having trouble feeling compassionate toward right now, and that maybe will wake up in more of the people in our country, and we will be able to rise up with more something.
Thank you. I heard that too, get ready to come here. So there could be a compassion gene that we have suppressed, and we need to wake it back up. Yes.
This is so good. I wanted to ask of you, you said when you did your paper, your final paper, now doing Father Boyle, now you would write it different because there's other parallels. Could you speak on that a little bit? Like now, based on what you have seen and lived through since writing that paper, maybe 1 or 2 things that you see differently now?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, versus when I wrote that paper initially, let's start with the initial. Initially, I focused on Father Boyle's work generally and how it affected really everybody within homeboy industries. But now that I think about womanist theology, and even as I'm thinking about a differently abled theology, not disability theology, I would now focus on, specifically within homeboy industries, is there a womanist theology that can emerge from that? Is there a differently abled womanist trans theology? Because Father Boyle is, tending to the sheep of everyone who walks through those doors. And you best believe you're going to have, say, a black trans woman who maybe is differently abled, homeless, in prison, all the above, that intersectionality stuff that I was referencing earlier. So now it's a matter of specifically what can be learned from a very direct experience that just kind of zeroes in. And I think that's something I do differently. But that being said, I've also read a brilliant thesis by Barbara, who's on our Zoom call. She has a very interesting critique that sort of challenges Father Boyle's work, and obviously you can become best friends with her and she'll tell you all about it. So, thinking about that as well would really cast a different light on how I would approach the paper, but that's sort of a small answer.
So thanks, Darya. Thanks for asking that. Thanks. So we're going to go, Reverend Janet, and then we'll come back to you, Bob, okay?
Hi, yes, I appreciated so much of what was said, but I did want to highlight just what was highlighted just now about Darya changing her perspective or enlarging her perspective, and if I had done that, if I would do that today, it would be different. I think that is so important, not to be stuck in the ways that you've always seen things. I think that is one of the problems with a lot of people who are in faith communities. They're seen as stagnant. And once they speak whatever they speak about what they believe, they are almost afraid to say they learned something new or they no longer believe this and then they believe that instead. I think having the freedom and having the honesty to say, I wouldn't do it that way this time. Now I've learned something. Hopefully we are all learning and having new experiences, but Darya intentionally put herself in new experiences. And I think that is very commendable, to intentionally put yourself in experiences that you haven't had so that you can have a new understanding of people in the world. And I think that's what I really find very, very commendable.
So,
thank you so much.
Thank you, Reverend Janet. Mm-hmm. Okay, Bob, I think we'll give you the last word here.
In terms of the theology and the womanist theology, I think it's a major shift, and I think it's high time. I'm glad that she spoke, that we move away from a patriarchal mindset in terms of theology and embrace the idea that the I am is also the multi-breasted one, the one who takes care and nurtures. So that if we can bring those kind of ideas, we might say something different than Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We might say Father, Mother, Son, which aligns with nature and it goes forward. And then in terms of the womanist theology, I was kind of upset with God, like, hey, God, how are you going to ask me to go back into that slavery situation, right? So that I'm thinking that, what it is that we, not only do we have a liberation from out of the Egyptians' experience, but we also are able to live with life as life is. And have that interaction. She named God. I mean, she had a relationship with God that transformed and transcended her situation as far as being a slave. She was a daughter. And then lastly with this, I do think it's high time that we begin to honor and reverence women being the portal through which beings come from one dimension to another.
There you go. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Darya, thank you for emphasizing intersectionality. I got the clearest explanation of that from the person who invented that term, and that was Kimberly Crenshaw, one of the founders of critical race theory, which actually is a very good thing if you understand it. And she said she was dealing with a case in which there was a company, don't remember what it was, in which a number of black women worked, but none of them had decent, I mean, they were all at the lowest level of the pay scale and the hierarchy within that company. So they were trying to get a legal remedy. The trouble was they couldn't accuse the company of sexism because there were white women who had very nice positions. But they also couldn't get the company on racism because there were black men who had pretty good positions. But the thing is, no black women did. And therefore, she said, we have to look at the intersection of being black and being a woman to get at the heart of what was wrong. And there was no legal remedy of it, and therefore she tried to work to change laws. But she said the overall purpose of recognizing intersectionality is so that nobody gets left behind. And it seems to me that that has theological ramifications. You know, if God is thought of as valuing all people, then it's important that no one get left behind.
Yeah, if I could respond to that. The way that I'm thinking about intersectionality is obviously closely tied to what many theologians, well, lots of people, is contextualization. And that within the conversation of context, you then see that there really is no one theology, but that every theology is contextualized. So every theology is, coupled with intersectionality. You have womanist theology, you have black theology, you have Asian theology, whatever, but there is no overarching one theology that has this objective answer, the way we see, say, in the hard sciences. It's a different relationship with the applicability of what we're talking about. And contextualization and intersectionality have to go hand in hand. And I think that's what she's getting at, is we can't ignore the context of every single person.
Thank you, Darya. Okay. This has been rich and full. So let's just all take a breath and a moment of silence, and then Louise will sing a song for us. Thank you.
Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I sing your song. Ancient Mother, I hear your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I sing your song. Ancient Mother, I hear your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears.
Good morning. I'm here, as usual, to ask you for money, but maybe in the spirit of different perspectives. In May, we have a large fundraising event, Communitas, and it's important to us because we do look for donors and sponsors, and that's another way that you can contribute to support the church. And you'll get recognized if you give $600 or $1,200 or more. I don't know what it is because nobody's told me what those levels are. You know, is it like NPR where you get Bob Edwards on your answering machine if you still have one? Janet will put a message on your phone. Just volunteered. 2 if you donate more, right? But anyway, it is an important thing for us. It occurs a little bit early in the year. It helps us sustain what the church does throughout the year, but so does what you do on Sunday morning. So the money's fungible. Do whatever you can. Thank you.
And while we're doing that, I would like to sing a very old song from, 1974. Might sound a little dated, but I love singing this during Women's Month. It's called Still Ain't Satisfied by Bonnie Lockhart. And there's a lot of repetition. You get to say, I still ain't satisfied a lot. Well, they got women on TV and I still ain't satisfied, 'cause co-optation is all I see and I still ain't satisfied. They call me Miss, they sell me blue jeans, call it women's lib, make it sound obscene. Whoa, they lied, whoa, they lied, whoa, they lied, and I still ain't satisfied. Well, they got women prison guards and I still ain't satisfied, 'cause there's so many still behind bars and I still ain't satisfied. I don't plead guilt, I don't want no bum deal, I don't want crumbs, I want that whole meal. Oh, they lied, oh, they lied, oh, they lied, and I still ain't satisfied. Uh-oh, they liberalized abortion, still ain't satisfied, 'cause it still costs a fortune, I still ain't satisfied. I'm singing about control of my own womb and no reform. They threw it out. It's gonna change my tune. Whoa, they lied. Whoa, they lied. Whoa, they lied, and I still ain't satisfied. They give out pennies here and there, and I still ain't satisfied. To set up centers for child care, and I still ain't satisfied. And while we work every day at slave wages to brainwash our kids at tender ages, and I still ain't. Whoa, they lied. Whoa, they lied, yeah. Whoa, they lied, and I still ain't satisfied. I got some pride, I won't be lied to. I did decide that halfway won't do, and I still that lied. Whoa, they lied. Whoa, they lied, and I still ain't satisfied. Woo! Oh, announcements.
Yeah, go ahead. And you
Okay.
brought some bread for us to share, correct?
And what bread is that someone brings bread to share, and then they just share from their heart. So anybody can do that. Bring bread, share from your heart, so we get to know each other that well. That way. Thank you, Craig.
Ramadan Mubarak for those of us who are so inclined. I want to first say that I would dedicate this in honor of Women's History Month. And in doing so, I want to go back, let's say, about 202 days from today, before today. And I believe this was significant because on this day, I may be a day or two off, but on this day, the Democratic Party nominated a woman of color to be the commander-in-chief. And that set up an interesting parable because now America had a choice as to who would lead them in that respect. It also put together a serious question: just how racist is America? Would they choose a woman of color, or would they choose a devout nationalist rapist, 34-time convicted? You know the story. Having said that, 202 days later, look what we've come to in that respect. So I dedicate this reading in reference to what could have been and what is. The reason why I bring up that person who holds the office, his ambassador to the UN had made a statement that Israel has a biblical right to what is called the land in and of itself. And the reason why that's necessary, I believe, is because within this, we come down a very strong parallel. The church in Ocean Park does a land acknowledgement every Sunday before service. And that land acknowledgement is due in large part to a papal bull by Alexander VI. I'm sorry, Pope Alexander VI. It is called the right of discovery. And it goes something like this: out of our own soul largesse and certain knowledge, and out of the fullness of our apolistic powers by the authority of Almighty God, conferred upon us in blessed Peter and of the vicarship of Jesus Christ, which we hold on earth, due by tenor of these presents, should any of said islands have been found by your envoys and captains, give, grant, and assign you to, and your hearts and successors, kings of Castile and Leon, forever together with all their dimensions, others, cities, camps, places, and villages, and all rights, jurisdictions, and appurtenances, all islands and mainlands found and to be found, discovered, and be discovered towards the west and south, by drawing and establishing a line from the Arctic pole, namely the truth, to the Antarctic pole, namely to the south. Oh, I'm sorry. Namely the north to the Arctic pole, namely to the south. No matter whether the sand, mainlands, and islands are found and to be found in the direction of India or towards any other quarter, the said line to be distinct 100 leagues towards the west and south from any of the islands commonly known as the Azores and Cape Verde, within the presence, however, that none of the islands and mainlands found and to be found discovered and to be discovered beyond that said line towards the west and south, be in the actual possession of any Christian king or prince as to the birthday of our Lord Jesus Christ, just past, from which the present year 1493 begins. And we make thee a point, and despite you and your said fears and successors, lords of them, with full and free powers, authority, and jurisdiction of every kind. Gee. So now we come to a thinking where this woman, who is an ambassador, says essentially that the land of Israel belongs to Jews. And that comes from here, because it's a biblical thing. So I'm going to quote Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1 through 8. When the Lord your God brings into you the land you are, wait a minute, let me get it. Yeah.
Okay, so, but yes, so thank you, Craig, thank you. Mm-hmm.
But essentially, if you go to Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1 through 8, it'll be self-explanatory.
It'll be okay, thank you, Craig, thank you. So, Louise. So let's gather in a circle, please. Who are we thinking of? And
reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place. If you can, reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place. If you can.
who are we remembering now? Who do we need to lift up? So to close out today, thanks to so many people, and to hear so many amazing voices and some new friends and some old friends. We're going to close out with a song from Pat Humphreys that she wrote for International Women's Day. And a lot of people don't know that she wrote that. They say, oh, this was traditional, but she went to a songwriting workshop, and they said, write a song that could be used in, for gathering people, easy to sing and all that. And she was with Sai Khan, and she wrote this, and it has become a wonderful anthem. We're going to keep on walking forward, never turning back, never turning back. We're going to keep on walking forward, keep on walking forward, keep on walking forward, never turning back, never turning back. We're going to reach across our borders. We're going to reach across our borders, reach across our borders, reach across our borders, never turning back, never turning back. We're going to light the night together. We're going to light the night together. Light the night together. Light the night together. Never turning back. Never turning. We're going to keep on moving forward. We're going to keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep back. Never turning back. Never turning back. So it is time on mute. Everybody unmute. That's on mute. And everybody here, we're going to count to 3 and say, carry on. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Carry on!
Next week we have communion or brief communion service.